Hello, and welcome to a video about building guitars, but not the guitar you'd expect. About a month before I started filming the Les Paul build that you will watch, I'd just finished, well, kind of finished, building this Telecaster guitar. Once I'd finished it, I strung it up and played it for a while and actually recorded a few demos, but I was never really happy with it. Now that my guitar building skills had improved, I could address the few problems that I thought the guitar had. Firstly, the guitar is way too heavy. Secondly, it's extremely hardwood with a single coil pickup, which is just a pointless combination, so I'm going to put a humbucker in it. And finally, the finish is extremely bland. It looks okay with a wood finish, but up close the horrible grain really comes through and just makes it look really cheap and naff. So I'm going to take off the neck, remove all the hardware, and start improving it. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction, Jacob. So I just unsoldered and removed the single coil pickup. And here I have the rest of my electronics still intact, because the only thing I'll be changing in this is the pickup. Here is my body with nothing on it, and I think it looks pretty bland. So to begin my modifications, my guitar body is far too heavy, so what I'm going to do is drill a cavity in it, and then of course I need to cover it up with a cover. So I cut the cover out on my table saw, and this wood would have been wasted where it had loads of holes drilled into it, so I can wedge it in my router table, and then route it down to a thin thickness, making the wood perfectly suitable for the job. After it was a sizable thickness, I stuck it down where I wanted it, with double-sided tape, and then ran a knife around the edge so it would indent in the guitar the outline of the cover. For the corners, I took a chisel and banged it into the corner with a hammer so that the corners would be really precise, making for a good fit. I could then untape it and mark which way the plate went up, and then I filled in the lines with some gold pen just so I can see it easier. Now all I did was, using my router bit running around the edge, you can see when you're just touching your line, because the edge of the wood sort of just chips off, leaving a perfectly straight line. After my first cut, I went round the edges and chiselled off some of the bits I'd missed, and then just squared off some of the corners again. Hitting a chisel into the edge of the wood worked so well that I decided to work my way all the way around the guitar. I could then take a second, more deep cut following the lines the chisel had made, and then finally I could just use a chisel to work the edges in the corners until the cover fit perfectly. Now that I've got a nice tight fit on my cover, I can begin drilling the holes in the guitar to make it lighter. Obviously I need to leave a ledge around the outside, and I've set my drill up so that from the front of the guitar I still have a 10mm gap, so as that the guitar won't become too weak on the top. As I've previously mentioned, this is a small, cheap drill, so I had to come up with inventive ways of drilling all the way round. You can see by wedging the horn of the guitar into the actual pole, I can get a much bigger travel on my drill bit, so I can drill more of the body out. Once I drilled as much as I possibly could with my cheap pillar drill, it was time to start routing it. I used the built-in clamp on my router table to hold it down, and then routed out the areas the drill couldn't reach. As you can see, I've also cleared up the edges, so I have a nice rectangular hole right in the centre of the guitar. The next issue, as you can hear, is the fact that the top of the guitar was extremely grainy. So what I did was set it up in my router table and route about 1mm off the top of the guitar to make it a lot smoother and easier to finish sand. The two problems this has caused was the fact that now the top of the guitar was a lot thinner in relationship to the control cavity. This meant that the hole would be extremely weak, and that these holes from the porcelain bit had protruded through to the top. What I did was stick a bit of wood in the back to support the guitar, and then apply some glue to the smaller holes and sanded over them So but the sawdust I made perfectly matched the top of the body and filled in the holes. Join me next time for part 2 and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.